Hey, how's it going? Hey, conquacks? Or quacks? Would you call them quacks or call them conquacks? I don't. Quacks. Just quacks? How's it going, bro? How's it going? We're here with Jackson, who is a local dev here in Sydney.
Yep, g'day. I'm from Amalus Digital, and I recently released a game called Pacific Machine, which was once called Helix, actually, since a week ago. So where should we start?
Well, I actually have a schedule here, so I'm
gonna, okay, sweet.
Jack, kindly, if you have a look down the side here, there we go. We've got everything we're going to go through, so at least then we're not going to run over time and not going to go, although we probably go off on a tangent, because this thing always happens. So we're going to have a chat about the machine, and then I want to get to know a bit more about you, but later on.
Okay.
So basically, the machine.
Right.
What is it?
So the machine the machine itself is actually a network of other machines. So right now, Pacific Machine is a machine based under the Pacific Ocean, which was launched back in February 1940. The gimmick we sort of run with each machine, each game we release with each machine, which we have, one's already planned for future releases. So this is our sort of first game for the machine sort of universe. So once we finish the mobile title and get the narrative wrapped up, we're moving into PC and console releases.
Yeah.
So the Pacific Machine itself, what it does is that it captures people through a. So I actually haven't released any information on how they get captured yet. That's still being built in the narrative, so I don't want to spoil anything just yet. But pretty much it captures people and then uses their mental energy to power itself, and then that power is then used to keep the machine running and operating, and that's its main output.
Yeah.
So each machine has its own export, which we actually covered a few of them in the recent patch.
Yeah.
So the recent update rather, with the new content. So it's we're sort of slowly moving into explaining more about the machine as a whole, as a whole entity, and each individual one, and what they do and how they're all sort of connected.
Yeah. So the game, if you were to basically explain how the game works, it's a tap-tap game, right?
Yeah. So the way it works is that because the narrative is run off a voting system where players get to donate their earned in-game currency and which choice and path the narrative goes through. We've implemented this. Implemented narrative after you made the. Initially, the game was a game called Picky Locks, which we changed the name of recently, a week ago now. So I started working on it back in October last year, and it was just a basic, sort of fun reaction game. And then what happened was, we got all the art in, got all the sounds, and it was just, for those of you who played, it was just the clap lock, which is the first lock you start on when you play the game. I showed it to a publisher and then a friend.
We can actually show it on screen so people can see what it is we're talking about the game.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, so it was that one lock. So I showed it to a publisher and a friend, and so the publisher was like, "Okay, look, this is really cool, but it's not enough. No."
Yeah.
My friend was like, "Dude, you need to add more to it. There's not enough for it to be anything, decent enough." Okay, alright, fair enough. So this is my 6th title, so I should know better than to release something tiny as that. But the funny thing was that when they said you need to add more to it, what they were saying was put more, lock variants in. But I took that as, I know, I'll put a narrative in the game. And then I did this whole plan of how this whole, what was going to work out. And then initially it was going to be this one game with this one narrative, and that would be it, right?
Yeah.
But then,
nice and simple.
Yeah. But then what happened? Yeah, exactly, right? And then I'm like, that's cool. But what if this? Because it was sort of I want to try and get this app out the door as soon as I can.
Yeah.
I want to sit here and make this intricate narrative for too long. What can I do, right? I know they can vote on it, so it's once a week I do a small part, release it, then just I can rest. So the players vote based on the currency they earn from playing the game, and they can watch ads to get double their currency or unlock chests to get cosmetic items for the game. But it's we're sort of initially released as an arcade-ish game, and now we've really sort of rebrand as this is more based on the narrative now.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's an interesting concept for a tap-tap game, which, at the essence, that's what it started as.
Yeah.
And basically on those, it's just open the game, have fun, try and beat your score, move on. Right? There's nothing to keep you invested in the game, which I find having a actual story-driven side of it is a very interesting concept.
Yeah. Because the idea was we wanted to there are many ways games push retention to get players coming back constantly. And the idea we have that was that we'll put a narrative in there that they need to vote on by using the earned bars, which so the whole the Pacific Machine operates on platinum bars, which is what the machine pays its inhabitants for using their mind to keep it powered, right? So similarly, so that is used to then vote. It's 5 bars per vote. And we track that, and we can keep update, where everyone's voting, where it's all going, and then we will generally about a midweek point we go, right, this one is definitely going to win, or this one is going to lose, whatever. And they go, right, so this is direction it will take. There's only been one time where we go, yep, this will win. And then we check the stats a couple hours before release, and it's oh, that's done a switch, so we need to change everything we just put in the game because that is not actually what has been voted on. So only recently we actually put in a sort of a header that says, right, this is where people are voting now. Because before, no one had any idea what anyone else was voting, but now it shows which way the votes are swaying based on, a little bar thing. So yeah.
That's cool. Alright, so the first machine is the Pacific Machine.
Yeah,
right?
the Pacific Ocean Machine,
So explain that.
So, sort of what...
Yeah, well, what is it, and where's it gonna
right.
to?
So there's only so much I can say without just completely spoiling the ending. Away. Yeah. But so it's like I said, each machine is exporting something. The Pacific Machine exports power. There are 2 power producing machines in the world. The gimmick we try and run with all the machines is that we treat them as if these are all actual places in the world, and each game isn't a game; it's an interface into that machine, which is exactly how like the story is running right now. Is that like the player, there's massive spoilers as I haven't played it, so I won't go into that. But basically, it's an interface into the machine. It's not a game.
How strange is it having a mobile game that is a tap game where you've actually got to be careful about spoilers?
Yeah,
I don't imagine the developers of Crossy Road were too worried about.
No, I mean like. There are loads of narrative games that get released on iOS that sort of are pretty fun, but it's sort of weird because I know there are people who are watching, like AJ for example is hopped in. I know AJ. I don't want to like sit here and just spoil everything about what's happening because I know she's like on that. So yeah.
I mean, the only other one I can think of locally that's done it would be something like Framed, which was a
Framed. It was fantastic.
Fantastic game. It's actually the first game I ever, and I've been on Android since I've had a smartphone.
Yeah.
First game I've ever paid for.
Really?
Was Framed.
I didn't remember my first game I paid for. It was back when like it first came out. Like, the first App Store was out. The first gen iPhone. I was buying what was that one game, like the Labyrinth games, like tilt the phone around, the ball roll around. Yeah, that they were massive back then, and no one cares.
I think Fruit Ninja was probably the first one I really got hooked on.
Yeah. Well, that was paid, I think. It was.
No, it was ad supported.
Ah.
Yeah,
it was actually. That's right.
Alright, so how did you come up with the concept for the game?
So initially, when it was just the sort of lock thing, it's kind of like the idea came from. So the first lock, it came from just a few games I played in the past that had like sort of lock picking mechanics. Kind of, this would be cool, it's like a mobile game, I guess.
Yeah.
I did a few prototypes and mucked around a bit, and it was the thing I struggled with was making this feel nice.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this feels kind of bland and boring. I was like, I was chatting to my artists, like, I don't know how it's like more interesting. So before it was just like, here are some bars, like just some colors and a bar, and it's tapping and cool, like it's locking in. Next one, cool, boring, right? So, we then changed it up so it was like this sort of massive like metal plates would like slam together for each one they got, and I was like, oh, this feels so much better.
Yeah.
And like for those using iPhone, there's like little haptics in there, so each time it claps you can feel like vibrant. It's like this feels really good. And then we did that for each sort of lock where it's a bit more sort of impactful with each thing you do, and like each def so each muck up is also real, like really like mucked up.
Feel it.
Yeah, you feel it, right? So it's one thing where it's still trying to code into Android because the code we have for iOS
doesn't work.
It won't work directly, but we're still trying to figure it out. So don't worry, Android users, we're still working on things for you, but it's the code is wildly different, and like like there's like so many hours a week I actually have to work on this, so it's sort of trying to keep down
when you're developing games nowadays, because I know once upon a time as an Android user I had to wait months, if not even a year or so before I could play the games that iOS guys were playing.
Yeah.
Right? And now it seems to be that games are either coming out on the same release day or first on Android.
Yeah.
How do you approach that?
So I generally try and do an iOS exclusive window because like apparently Apple likes that. So we just like do iOS exclusive, and then a month later we'll go and do Android. That's never actually helped us, I don't think, but we just do it because we want to just, like, it's also the main thing we develop for. Like, most of our games have all been just iOS.
Yeah.
Only 2 games with Android support, and that was a game called Cubed, which we actually need to pull down because it had some issues, and then now Pacific Machine. So that got an Android release like a week after iOS. So that's been... It's more of a case of it's just kind of there. Like its performance isn't as great as iOS, for example, because like we are like luckily featured under best new updates right now, so we're like getting a decent amount of downloads a day. Yeah. But for Android, it's like we're like 1 download a week if we're lucky.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's kind of like hard to push it out there with sort of like we're the company is still very small, so like our outreach is very limited, so it's kind of like we will push hashtags and tweets and posts and everything, but it'll take time.
You need to be doing more of these PR things.
Yeah, I'm trying to do more of that.
So what are the future plans for
this app?
For this app?
Well, so we do have a Steam port coming.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the next month or so. As soon as possible, we best, because we do. Like, the reason doing a Steam release is that so those who don't want to play it on mobile, like want like a sort of a PC experience for the narrative itself, we'll like we'll remove ads. We'll sell it for like a couple of bucks, and it's more just so it's their ticket in to getting into the narrative and then being able to vote on where everything goes.
Yeah.
So it's also just sort of expanding like our sort of influence. Like, hey, we are a thing that exists. We're doing this sort of weird experimental narrative thing.
Yeah.
Come give us your money so we keep doing this, so we're not like dying.
Are you going to look at, you mentioned earlier about console.
Yeah.
Do you think this game would be a good fit for something like Switch?
Oh, no. So, I mean, maybe. I mean, I guess sort of depends where the narrative ends up going. Like if it becomes like sort of